Thanks. All right, so we have a pretty substantial set of things on the agenda here, but they're mostly QA related. But let's get started with an update from DAF on the registry.
Yeah, I've been trying to repair the registry. The basic issue is that there's corrupted blocks in logging information, and processing those and getting things back up is not working as far as I can tell. I can continue to work on it, but I do think the best solution now is to either create a new registry or just shift to using Docker for a while until I get the new one up. Problem with either of those, of course, is making sure that it's up to date with previously released images and transitioning all the old releases if I can pull them out of the current registry. I'm taking suggestions.
Yeah, so there's multiple registries. Is it possible to summarize what's in the Aether registry?
Not sure. Effectively, it looks like the past 3 years of any container created by any Aether build has been pushed to the Aether registry. Some of them also to Docker, but not all.
Does anyone on the call remember the history of the Docker versus Aether?
I think when some of the repos were made private, we wanted a private registry to hold those artifacts like SDRN, but now everything has been made public again. So I don't know if there's a need for a private registry.
Yes, some additional historical background I got from my previous colleagues is that, the Docker Hub overall gives you just a limited amount of pools, while having this Aether registry, you can just pull anytime you want. So the limitation of pools, that's probably why they move into this proper repo. And as far as I know, at least from the UPF perspective, or the Aether in a box or Aether on ramp, there is only one repo that is getting affected because of that, which is the VCBox version. And that one has its Docker image open, but it has these pool rate limitations.
Yeah, that does ring a bell, that we were running into limitations with Docker.
Yeah, especially when you are as a anonymous user, that's where you have these limitations with Docker.
Yeah. Okay, so back to DAF. Eliminating, for the sake of argument, going back to Docker, what would be the next step that you would propose?
The next one I would suggest is we just create a brand new registry and plop stuff into it. Like, I can try and extract the ones out from the current registry and transfer them, or we just go in and rebuild everything to make sure we at least have the latest up-to-date stuff. The worry, of course, is not obsolete, but older containers that are still in use by somebody and their ability to refresh their world.
Yeah, well, there'll be no more soft than they are today. Do you think you could, within reason and accepting that there may be a few handful of exceptions, do you see how to create the new registry and start moving?
Yeah, I mean, creating a new registry, there's fairly straightforward cookbooks for that. Done it before a while ago, but so I don't have an issue with that. The concern is making sure I get all the containers and images that we want in it. And again, my basic thought right now is just make sure we re-push everything in the Aether build environment. At least we have the latest stuff to basically do a fake release and make sure we've got a repeat, so at least ongoing future development can work.
Okay, so that's how you would trigger this. You would cause you would fake a release.
Yes. That seems the most straightforward one that ensures that we get everything for the most recent code base. Again, my build engineer Psyche screams at the idea of possibly discarding old containers and things that have been out in the public, but I can address those later. The most important thing is to get current development going.
Yeah, I would definitely prioritize that. Does anyone have counter proposal or caution or insights that might help staff here? Well, this certainly goes on in parallel with what's there today. So it's not a destructive thing at all that
Correct.
I can see. So I would say go ahead and do it. Any objections? Post a note to Dev then what you're up to, and
Okay.
I guess that's the thing to do.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not in that area. Just focus on getting this up and running as soon as people can get to it. So,
All right, thanks. All right, the next item is mine, and it somewhat is you can think of it as almost a summary of what comes next, but the GS Lab folks populated the other, and there's more detail there. So my nightly on-ramp integration test was an attempt to summarize what's there now, because last week, and I missed it, there was an issue of test PRs related to functionality comment. And so I wanted everyone to know what is there. And two, all this integration test is running nightly. So you can go ahead and do the merge with the understanding that nightly it may affect things. So as to what's there, Quick Start is kind of Unwrap's version of Ether in a Box. It's a single server. We're testing 2004 and 2204, and we're testing the core, the latest stable core, and the quote unquote latest of the core, and we're testing it with and without AMP. So that's a grid of things that are being tested. We also do, I'll just skip over here. We also do pretty much the same thing, except with multiple servers. And that means the GNB SIM is running in a separate server. This can be scaled up to be a performance test. This is just more of an FYI. If there was interest in I don't know, weekly or monthly or something running how well does the core scale? We can do that. Back to the API test. I mean, there's some question in my mind how valuable this is, because the API is effectively being tested in multiple ways by end-to-end things that happen, as opposed to sort of the micro, do a call, check the value. But this is pending for a reason that you'll see in a minute as to what the problem is. It's an ONOS config issue that we're trying to figure out.
Sorry, which API is it, Larry?
I think Kunal can answer the question on the topic. Kunal, can you please?
I was postponing the issue. For right now,
Yeah.
I'm just summarizing what tests are there. When we get to the QA issues,
No, Larry, it's not an issue. Just let the Kunal finish.
Yeah, sure. Sure, Larry, we can take it later. whenever-
it'll just be a minute. I'd like to make sure everyone understands what the tests are, and therefore what's available. Is it sufficient to do these nightly, or do we want to actually link pull requests to some of these tests? That's the meta issue here. There's a multi-UPF test that runs both in a single server and multi-server. And this is where, because there's multiple UPFs, AMP has to come in and program the core at runtime to know about the additional slice, the additional device group, the additional devices for the added UPF. And that gives us an end-to-end test that I would argue is more powerful or meaningful than the API test, but I wanted to have that discussion.
Larry?
Yeah.
We during for the last project that we work, we actually were able to configure these slices through the CLI command line for the additional UPF. So I mean, creating the slices using the additional UPFs. For the testing of the multi UPFs that you have in there. So it doesn't necessarily need to be in the graphical user interface with the through Rock Rock GUI, but through CLI basically with Suresh can provide the details on how to.
Yeah. This is through the API. It's not through the GUI.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Thanks for making the distinction. It's not through the GUI. It is through the API. I mean, you could do it through the GUI, but it is through the API. So there's a user ransom test that includes the performance upgrades, and it does an iPerf. This is still, I said not yet checked in, but it is checked in now, correct? Oh, I'm sorry. It's not quite generally available yet, because in the process of containerizing user ransom, there was an issue. So this is not quite there yet, but it's very close.
Question regarding that part. For how long are we running, or are you planning to run this URSIM test?
This will be a nightly test.
No. For how long each test?
Oh, I don't know what the parameters on that are.
Okay. Asking this because last week we are in a different project. We are basically using URSIM for the run component. So
sorry, to distribute, it's not it's regarding URNSIM, right?
Mm-hmm.
Means if I'm not wrong, it's regarding URNSIM, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, continue, please continue.
Oh,
I will
okay.
answer the question.
So Gabriel, is the issue? This is an iPerf test. So in my mind, the question is how much are you measuring? Is that the question?
How long the iPerf test runs? That's basically.
Yeah. Okay. So my annotation there is, and the answer is I don't know. We'll probably make that some kind of configurable parameter.
Okay. Just to
do you have a suggestion?
Well, I have a comment regarding an issue we found with URNSIM last week. So we were running, we're using URNSIM for some other project, and we were trying to run a 4-hour test, sending traffic through a real application using URNSIM, and all the way to the first probably 4 or 5 minutes, around the 4 or 5 minutes, basically the UE disconnects from the G0D. And that is because of some timer that is kind of inside of the heartbeat something it's called in URNSIM, and because of that, there is a lot of traffic going on. Basically, the UE disconnects with no reason. So that value, what we did for now is just increase that heartbeat value by a very large number. So to avoid these disconnects, these artificial disconnects, because even the UE and the G0D are running on the same machine, so there's no reason for that.
Sorry to disturb you, but just a simple question. Means you tried the URNSIM with Ethernet RAM, correct?
URNSIM with what?
Not with on-ramp. Not with on-ramp.
Yeah.
No, not with on-ramp. So it's not an on-ramp problem. This is a URNSIM issue.
No. I'm not. I'm saying you tried the URNSIM with Ethernet RAM. Means where is the Ethernet RAM, correct?
Ether in a box. Well, not really Ether in a box. No.
And
so we
that
don't.
is to be on the container, or it's an individual machine?
An individual machine running on bare metal system.
Okay. Because that's the thing we also tested, and we got very good performance on the same.
No, I'm not talking about performance. I'm talking here, it's if you run a test, let's say you wanted to run an iPerf test for 1 hour, then around 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, got man. Means I got your point. For sometime if you run, then sometime it's get disturbed.
So Gabriel, your point is that there is a some sort of timer that
Yeah,
caused
maybe
the disconnect.
some miscommunication or some thing. Because I want to know if someone knows not knows, but someone runs UV Ransom on Ether RAM and like that.
I don't quite sure I'm following the comment or question.
Kunal, can you please help me in this? Kunal, are you there?
Yes, Preetham. So yeah, we are facing this issue while containerizing UV ransom. So I understand that Gabriel is talking about the UV disconnects after 4 minutes. So yeah,
But this has nothing to do, with either containerized
Yeah.
UV ransom. It has nothing to do with the core network. So in our case, we are using as a reference Ether in a box, but from Ether in a box, we are only using the Helm charts and the deployment of the core network itself. So the Kubernetes cluster and everything is deployed outside of Ether in a box. So it's a kind of simplified version to just deploy the core network. But again, the issue is not because of the core network. The issue is because in between the UE and the G0B that it has this heartbeat parameter that basically
Correct.
times
Correct.
out and disconnects the UE from the G0B.
Okay, that's good to know. I will make sure that we come up with some, expose it as a parameter or something.
Actually, Lali, we are actually working on the same. How to make UV Ransom with Ether RAM and with hyperparameters, all those things.
Yep, good.
Yeah, I'm maybe close to that. Allow us some time.
Thank you. I'm going to add one more small bullet, which is it's very easy to load an iPerf3 server into Ether, and we could use that as the destination.
No, it has to be like that. If we can create the interface.
I'm sorry? I'm just pointing out that it's possible to run the iPerf server in Ether. And this came up several weeks ago when we talked about performance numbers, because you're going to be impacted by what the internet looks like on the other side of Ether. So if you were purely interested in the throughput to, into the UPF and out again, and not worrying about the delays and latency bandwidth bottlenecks on the internet side, this is an option.
Yeah, that's something that we did like a couple months ago for
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward to do.
Yep. Yeah. Larry, just in case, through the chat I shared basically the patch of just this very simple thing that we did for the heartbeat threshold. In case that somebody wants to run something longer than that.
Great, thank you. How do we capture this in a way that so that it survives? I'm not going to be able to look at this. So how do we get this to survive this call?
So the ideal thing would be to open a PR in the UE ransom repo.
No. I get that. I just wanted to very simply. I hope this survives the chat. This chat note survives this call.
Yeah.
Post it to one of these Slack channels that it might be relevant to. Just post it to the TST channel. Then that has some context.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sure.
I just want to be able to come back to it and look at it.
Probably here in the notes, you just put the specific name of the variable, which is called heartbeat_threshold. Maybe that may help.
Heartbeat_threshold.
Yeah, it's called, everything is in uppercase letters, just in case if somebody's kind of looking to the call.
Okay, I'll remember that and come back to it.
Okay.
Okay, then there's all right. Popping back up. This was supposed to be a pretty quick summary of what's there. The question is, do we want to tie any of these nightly tests to a PR gate? And I don't know the context of the discussion last week. I just noticed that it was someone said, we want to test PR's relative PR functionality. I don't know whose point that was. Sean, was that you? Or you maybe just were the one taking notes?
Sorry, Larry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was focused on something else. How was the question?
So last week's notes made a point wondering if we could link PR requests to some of these integration tests. I've just now enumerated all the integration tests that are run nightly. Do any of them need to be turned into PR tests?
Gosh, yeah, the context of that might I think it's erased from my memory now at this stage. Gabrielle, maybe do you remember what the context was?
Partially the context was that certain from the control plane perspective, certain repos don't have a test, or the tests that they have for the ones that they have are kind of fairly basic. So the idea here would be, or at least what I've been doing so far for kind of testing any PR, at least in the UPF, I basically, it does pass all the GitHub Actions checks. Everything seems perfect, but it doesn't mean that actually there is going to be traffic flowing through the network. So what I do is I bring those changes locally in my machine, deploy Ether in a box, run an end-to-end test, make sure that there is traffic, or deploy the UPF in a standalone mode, but always making sure that there is actually traffic. And for example, for the case of the UPF, that the pipeline completely builds and things like that. So, so far, the GitHub Actions, at least in the UPF itself, they just kind of check whether the code builds and things like that, but there is not a real end-to-end test. And there was before this line rate test, but this kind of like, that's the job that we have been kind of like missing, or hasn't been working since a little bit more than a year ago. But the idea is that, whatever, instead of somebody to manually start kind of testing each of these changes, it would be good if we can somehow integrate this with some type of end-to-end test to make sure that.
So what we're doing right now is exactly what you just described, which is we're trusting the developer to run the end-to-end test before submitting it, and all this officially gets checked are these simple things.
Mm-hmm.
For the time being, we're surviving with that. Are you willing? The general question now is, should we do better than that? And you've identified at least one example. You would maybe feel more comfortable if the UPF were tested that way. Is there any, and maybe the entire core?
It would be great if we can do the whole, testing in that way. I mean, if that can be automated, so no one, at least from the reviewer's point of view, you don't have to do that process manually before actually approving a PR, right? And make things less overhead for the reviewers in that case.
So sure, I can take that as an item and work with GS Labs to put it in place for the core. In any of the core repos, that would be your proposal, right? Any of the core repos, do enough of an end-to-end test to make sure that it passes that threshold.
Yep.
Does everyone agree that that's a good thing to do? Or, it does slow you down potentially, but.
So, Larry, I think we had this in place earlier. Before the probably Jenkins setup was brought down, but this is what we used to do. We used to update any SMF or any AMF changes come in. We'll update only that AMF, and then the Jenkins will pull that image and run a basic AIB test with ping data. And that's what used to happen.
Yeah, that we could reinstitute that. I think that would be a reasonably straightforward thing to do if everyone's agreeing that we should do it.
Yeah, I think so. That would be helpful. Yeah.
Okay, then I will work with GS Labs to get that in place. All right, thanks. That's good. So the answer here is apply to PR for the core. So a simple EDD ping, which is what profile 2 does. Okay. All right, now to the QA status. And let me set a little context here. This is referencing a whole bunch of things like near-term goal 2. This is a kind of a low-level summary, so we might get a little bit into the weeds, but there are a couple of issues I want people to be aware of, so we'll kind of work through it a little bit. Essentially, to implement these various tests that we were just talking about, and we're pretty much, and these are now pretty much done and in hand. So if you guys don't mind, I'm gonna go through these bullets, and then we'll stop when we need to have a discussion. First bullet is upgrade nightly test from custom build to latest. What OnRamp was doing was testing, was what it had not been testing specifically. The latest was testing one of the established releases, and so that's just now updated so that latest gets tested as well. Near-term goal 1, extending existing jobs to verify the GNB sim produces the expected results. This was going a step beyond just making sure it built, but actually looking that the results were correct. There's nightly test run against OnRamp. Everything seems to be going fine. This, I'm in the notes here if you are in the agenda. There is an issue, and I'm going to try to describe it, and then I'll let Canol maybe jump in and describe it as well. What I think, it's been a little while since I saw this, but what I think happens is that when you try to reuse Ono's config, because you've torn down AMP and you want to reinstall AMP, there's something residual being left behind. And I think it might be related to the fact that Ono's config and atomics come up in the cube system namespace and not outside of it. That might be part of the issue.
I kind of wonder if it's to do with Onus topo and the topo operator.
Yeah.
The way that works is, you know, at startup, Onus topo operator will inject like the sites, I think, into is it, yeah, the sites into Onus topo, and then from that point on they're managed.
I think
by-
Kunal can flash more on this because he worked on that.
Yeah, so what happens is we could see all other pods coming up in AMP, but in ROC, sorry. But Ono's topo and Ono's config are the ones which were not coming up. And I have also checked Ono's config transactions. And earlier there were some pending transactions there, but even after I mean, fixing the data set, we could see Ono's config, I mean, the pending transactions moved into completed state, but still the issue still persists. We could see, we could see a few, I mean, reinstallations were getting failed. We tried a few times. And we have also seen that if we continue, I mean, doing API test or running APIs against Ethernet, against ROC, then we do see some RPC errors as well.
Larry, I think
We are trying
there may
to
be
get some more.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are trying to get some more logs on it, and also we are debugging it further. I mean, any inputs on where exactly we should see? I think Sean can help us in finding out the exact cause, or maybe we can have a call and discuss if
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have a call and discuss and see if we can
Mhm.
find out more.
But Sean, your instincts there sound consistent with what I've seen.
Yeah,
Right.
and let's try and we'll have a call and try and gather some evidence here, Larry, and
Okay, thank you very much.
look for the clues.
I'm just kind of taking notes off on the side here and in comments, but you can see them. All right. Near-term goal 3, which is to add. Oh, this is the one that uses UE ransim and then the configuration variables to try to get throughput tests. And again, that's all been checked in. The issue, we've already discussed this. It's the issue GS Labs is seeing is related to containerizing UE ransim. Gabriel has now raised a second issue. Is there more to say there?
Right.
Actually,
So that is what.
Kunal, please continue.
Yeah, correct, Larry. We are seeing this issue, and we have raised it to UE ransom forum as suggested by Ajay, and we have contacted a few engineers who have already containerized UE ransom.
So Gabriel, just out of curiosity, you don't run a containerized version of UE ransom, do you?
No, we don't need.
Yeah, we were just trying to minimize mechanism here and make it look just like GNB sim.
Okay. What is the issue that you guys are facing here?
Yeah, so the tunnel interface does not come up. The one that names as UE sim turn,
Yeah.
I think.
Right. So are you launching as a privilege container?
Sorry.
Are you launching it as a
It's
with privilege?
sim 2.0.
Yes, we are running it with privileged user, and also we have tried with -cap add net admin, so it specifies or it specifically gives net admin privileges to the user.
Right.
So yeah, so we tried with both of them, and still the issue persists.
Oh, okay, because one of the first things that the UE run sim does on the UE side is to check that the user is a root user. So if it's not, basically it just leaves the execution, and then after that it tries to kind of create this UDP socket for the UE sim tune 0.
Right.
So okay. Let me think about it, and if I think of something, I'm gonna get back to you.
Sure, that would be really helpful. Thank you so much, Cap.
Yeah, it's maybe a help for us. It's a good help.
Again, taking notes off to the side here. Okay, end-to-end connectivity. So this next bullet is about bringing up a physical G node B and E node B. And I want to raise it from the point of view of, is this worth our time? It's a tricky thing to do. It's fragile. It's fragile, and I have it running in my lab. Princeton now has it running in their lab, so it's been replicated. Purdue is in the process of doing it. I'm kind of wondering if we should just depend on those edge sites and not try to reproduce it in the official QA release. And I just kind of wanted to get people's feedback on that, if you had any thoughts.
Kunal, if you want, or either I answer. Hello?
Yeah, what was it?
Yeah,
Did you have some
Larry,
thoughts?
here, I think, I mean, if these kind of tests are already running, then um, maybe we can, we have tried this because we have seen an issue with Circom, so that's why we have raised it to Circom team as well. But we could, I mean, create a custom script and run the reboot or I mean, the major issue that we have seen is we could not use the CLI to reboot the ENB and GNB.
Okay, that was what you saw. I'm pretty sure I've used the CLI to do that, so I
But
don't.
still, the Lenny, still, when we didn't get the direct UE, so we can't test those things.
So
Is it
the
dongle
the
or
issue here is it's an extremely fragile combination is the only thing that we've gotten to work.
Yeah.
And it's got to be exactly the right UE. It's got to be exactly the right SIM writer, and the SIM card has to say exactly the right thing. And it has to support the right band. And you got to get the radio configured right. It's a
got it, got it.
it's a very fragile process right now.
Yeah, correct. Correct.
All right, so and my thinking is we do have some live running 24/7 systems out there, and maybe just in terms of where we put our focus and our emphasis, this could be deprioritized in favor of some of the other tests that we've been talking about.
Correct. But testing has to be like that.
I'm sorry?
Means I just politely say that the testing has to be like that.
I'm not sure I caught that. It doesn't.
Okay. No, I'm just saying that testing has to be like that.
Yes, it is. I think you're right.
Yeah, because that's why we're QA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Means the perspective you or but I believe on the testing, and testing has to be like that. Ki everything should be in front. Yes.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Not done. Not done. Means I am not believing on that. I am a tester. It's not done. So that's my perspective. But yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Ball on your court. Ball on court.
Just an FYI to all the former Pronto people, ONF/Intel people. Sericom changed the radio on us. The 5G radio that we used to have was in the band 78, and the new radios that they're shipping now under the Mosolab label is band 48. And everything
Yeah.
everything that had been working with Pronto no longer works.
Understand.
You got to have a phone that works for band 48, and a lot of the earlier phones that we were using is 78. And for those of you that don't know the distinction here, 48 is a subband of 78, and the missing subband is the one that the FAA was complaining about. So I think band 48 is probably the likely in the US in the future.
Okay.
And Larry, this is like a physical hardware change, or this is just software reconfiguration that needs to be done?
No, he's talking about the what we say that it's a simulated thing.
So it's technically software, Scott, but it's software inside of the radio and Mosolab. So Mosolab and Sericom think of them as the same company. Mosolab is a subsidiary that's focused on private 5G.
Yeah.
Sericom is a hardware vendor. Each box they ship has to have been certified by the FCC. They were shipping boxes that had only been certified for 48. At some point, they will get certification that will allow you to software control whether it's 48 or 78.
Got it.
But today, I've got 2 boxes and one's 48 and one's 78, and never the tween.
Yeah. It's okay. Yeah, got to the point.
So
I got the point.
So
I got the point.
Good, thank you. So this is a little bit for Badri and the SD core folks while we're on the topic.
Yeah.
We have
Good.
tried to use other SIM cards, and they are technically 5G SIMs instead of 4G SIMs, which is what we've had working. And what that means, think of a SIM card as little more than a giant YAML file. And the YAML files are backward compatible, so a 5G phone can read a 4G SIM card, but the 5G SIM card has extra fields that turn on extra services, and those, the 5G cards that we have, we can't get to work with SD core. I'm wondering, and maybe this is too broad of a question, if there are advanced services that the core does not support that you know of that would cause that to be the case.
When you say it doesn't work, do we know what error does the core reject it, or does it not? Like, does the radio reject it, or?
It's between the radio and the core, and it has to do with different services being supported. We keep disabling certain services and make a little progress, and then there's another one that jumps up and bites us. And I can't be more specific than that. The general takeaway I have is that there's functionality that's turned on that the 5G SIM card enables that the SD core doesn't recognize.
Yeah, if you can share a PCAP, that would be helpful so that we can know what exactly we are failing with. So that, I mean, that might give us an idea of which service or some log from the AMF.
So what would be super helpful here, and it may be asking too much, is if the SD core folks at Intel could be testing against a Mosolab radio or a Sericom radio using the new SIM cards. I don't know if that's of interest to you, but it would be, that interaction is rich with issues.
I don't know. I mean, how we don't have a setup with SD core as such, or the radio available.
Maybe I should put that to Gabriel and Christian.
Let me bring it to Christian. So Christian is not attending today, but let me bring the topic to Christian to see what he says, because right now we are gonna fully concentrate on a year-end goal. That's kind of like our main target at the moment.
Yeah, I get that. But I think that could be an interesting case to keep an eye on.
Oh no, certainly, yeah. But let me bring it to Christian to see what his point of view is about this, and then we can discuss further next week.
That would be great. Thank you. Okay, so I think that covers everything. Kanal, did I miss anything there?
One clarification, Larry, just regarding this last thing that we discussed. It would be that you are gonna provide the GNLB
and
the SIM card.
We'd have to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, yeah, we have collaborations, Intel Labs and ONF have collaborations with Purdue that are in exactly this space, so that might be an outlet for it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'd have to figure that out.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I think it's doable.
Okay.
And FYI, Mozo Labs is now a reasonable entity to work with to actually place an order for 4K to get a radio and get it delivered in a reasonable amount of time. And that's not been the case up till now.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Other topics?
Larry,
From my
last
side,
week.
nothing.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think it was nothing.
Okay, I was just going to say last week, Larry, I showed a spreadsheet that I created about the groups in GitHub and who has access and who doesn't. Yeah, this one, and I think I had some recommendations there. You can see it on the bottom right about what to do with each of these. So it's probably something we need. There's actually 3 major projects in GitHub. There's like Honest Project, Open Networking Lab, and OMIC project. I haven't added OMIC project in here, but there are similar sort of things need to be done. So I just wanted to make you aware. I think, listen back to the recording from last week if you want the full story on these. But for the recommendations, I don't know who would do this, who would take command of these groups in GitHub and reassign people, but it kind of looks like something that needs to be done, I thought.
Thank you, Sean. I apologize. I missed that link, or I would have elevated it for discussion this week. This is an important topic.
Okay.
So let me just see that I can interpret this.
Yeah. So basically, just briefly, I'll fly through it if that's okay. So
yeah, please do, please.
Yeah, so say for instance, Honest Project has a grouping called Core, okay, online on B8, right? So it has these people in it, and some of those people belong to ESPD, which is Intel. Some have left Intel, like Carmelo. Some are in Aether TST, like me and Scott and Gabrielle and Wujong. And what I've done is there's kind of conditional cell formatting here to show that somebody from ESPD that's not interested in it still has admin rights, and that's a problem because they could delete the repo, they could do anything to the repo. They probably we should probably keep the core group, but move these people out of it who are not in TST, and move them into anything that's less, for instance, into the reviewers group on cell U8, so there's that's kind of recommendation number 1.
So let me just make sure I can interpret that. Are you saying, just for example, Ray, because he's not TST related, ought to be removed from core?
That's what I'm saying. I mean, we could easily
okay. I just wanted to see if I was
TST.
right.
We could easily add Ray to TST. Ray is somebody that's has an interest in some of these projects, and that's something you could do. But I'm really just talking about reducing the attack surface on your repos.
So in this, all right, that's relative to core. So you would maybe in another category, it would be a different criteria.
Yeah, exactly. So like if you took Ray, you can see is already duplicated. He's in another group called reviewers there on cell U9. And it's underlined to show that that's a duplicate. And basically, so you could remove him from core, but he still has write access to all of these 6 repos.
Got it. Yeah, that looks, I get you now. Thank you. So this is the ONOS project tab. And then if I jump to the...
Yes, this is, so basically I looked through this. I took a few sample projects. I have your on-ramp and EtherKDS, and I presume these are the ones you're using most recently. And you're in TST, so there's no problem you having maintain rights. You could even have administrator rights on this. Actually, you could have already, but I don't know because I wasn't able to go into the settings and see who is administrator.
I think I do because I probably created those repos.
Yeah, exactly. The ones that are in red here really are inconsequential. I just took the example of this timesheets DB and UI because they're projects that I was an administrator on, and and you know, there's nobody else really associated with them anymore. They could all be removed from this group.
So just in sort of an orthogonal question is, what is on this particular organization, Open Networking Lab,
Yeah.
that is critical? Let's say Aether supposedly, but what else?
Well, the classic onus is on it.
Okay, Classic almost is there. Thank you.
Yeah, that was the main one. And there are, like, as I see there on line A or cell A23, there are 51 other repos that I didn't go to the trouble of looking. You know, so I think somebody needs to complete this spreadsheet, like, you know, and extend it further, and examine everything. So there is, what I'm saying is, there is a bit of work to even complete the analysis, and then there's work to assign people and make sure everything still works and all the bot accounts and all this kind of stuff still work. You know, what I was really doing with the spreadsheet is kind of creating a format to capture the data so that we could see what the problems are.
Thank you. Thank you. So is it just, you don't have a tab here for the, I guess OMEC would be the, I'm sorry, ONOS and Open Network.
So OMEC project, yeah, would be another tab. I haven't done that yet. It was my intention to get around to it, but I didn't. But I can do that.
So Vondry, as an active user in the OMEC project, do you feel that it's just in general terms, it's well managed in terms of who has permissions, or does it also need a lot of attention?
Probably it needs pruning of people probably were not part of Intel or ONF anymore. I think there was multiple people there. We can probably do that also. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I would assume so, but.
So yeah, it needs some pruning, but I think it's fairly reasonable. At least there are, as far as I remember last time, DAF gave us the details of those groups. I think there is one group called 5GC maintainers, where we are, I think, like 4 or 5 people, no, 5 to 6 people there. And there was another group, but it's kind of like fairly good, but just some pruning it is needed.
Yeah, maybe it's in decent shape. All right.
Yeah, so I mean, we can leave this and let people have a think about it, and see if there's somebody's time is available to do this. And really, I'm just saying it from a recommendation from a TST perspective.
So does anyone have a reaction to the recommendations here? Allergic to it, or it makes sense? Nothing jumps out?
I think it makes sense.
My only comment is, really like to see standard group names and associated with projects. So each project has, you know, I don't know, core write, core maintain, core read, you know, and Ether dev, etc., rock dev, etc. I don't know if that's making sense.
You make complete sense.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
You know, right now, the group has different names for the teams that are part of them, so it's hard to be consistent.
Yeah, that makes. I mean, that makes total sense. Like, if you know, I do this once, do it consistently across all of them, you know, and then you'll have something that's easier to maintain. So maybe that would be the top recommendation, is coming up with a recommended list of groups and a plan for where to go with this.
Thank you, Sean. Let's take this up again, and maybe we can come up with an action plan next time.
Right.
Anything else?
Probably one quick question, comment. Is there anyone reviewing PRs for the rig or for the rock components?
I can review for the rock if you want.
Okay. Yeah, there is a few PRs that Suresh opened
So
some time ago.
one issue on the rock, I'm not sure what it is that your PR is. We do want to have a TST level, and maybe Sean can perfectly handle this on behalf of everyone else, but a TST level discussion about API changes or model changes,
Mm-hmm.
backward compatibility and that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, Suresh in our team, Suresh has a lot of knowledge with the rock.
I mean, in some sense, the rock API is the Aether API by one definition, and the TST, it shouldn't just change willy-nilly.
Yep, certainly. Yep.
And it should have backward compatibility.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Yep.
So I think maybe for the next day, then, if Suresh could, summarize those in a slide or just some couple of minute presentation in the next meeting, and let's all agree to them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna ask him to do that because I think he just dropped.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
you are still here. Okay.
Yeah,
I need to drop. Sorry. Yeah.
I will add this to the agenda, two things to the agenda: the API changes, model changes, and the spreadsheet for next week agenda. Thanks.
And reviews for the rig as well, please. What is the process to review the PRs for the rig?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I have to drop. Bye.
Okay, thanks everybody. Top of the hour. Talk to you next week. Thanks.
Bye-bye.